Welcome back to the Leg Up. That's right, it's your weekly Thoroughbred preview podcast, and it was getting pretty lonely in that Petone studio, so we've taken the show on the road. And we're here, Hastings Racecourse, and I'm joined by, well, our usual analyst, Brendan Popplewell. Brendan, welcome along.
Paulie, very good morning. It's a lovely tropical day here in Hawke's Bay, as we all would expect, sitting around a nice cushy 12 degrees, and it's not raining. So that is the key element here. It hasn't rained for the last, 3 or 4 hours, and that's a miracle in itself with how much rain's fallen here over the last few months.
Fantastic. And of course, last week we had Aidan Rodley. This week we're joined by the king of the CD, Bevan Sweeney. Bevan, welcome along.
Yeah, great to be with you boys. I'm the only sensible one here, team. I'm standing next to two pair of lily white legs. I thought they'd come into the real bay, but no, sorry, it is cold and, well, the track's going to come up a heavy 10. It's pretty wet out there, boys, so we'll just have to work through that.
Well, I guess what we're all hoping for is for the rain to stay away. BP, you're a local lad. When did Hawke's Bay become the Seattle of New Zealand?
Yeah, mate, this is very unusual. I mean, they've basically had rain since around February, March, and it just hasn't stopped. And normally at this time of the year, and hence why we have the Spring Carnival here, is that these track conditions are, they're almost watering the track so often when we get to the Livermore Day. So this is unusual scenes, and I speak to a lot of locals around sort of water tables and how much rain they've seen. It's just unprecedented. So it's a shame for the club, but hey, look, we've got to get the show on the road, and we've got to have our fingers and toes crossed that this meeting does get underway, and for that to happen, there needs to be no more rain. There needs to be no more rain to be falling in the Hawke's Bay, because it has, even over the last 2 days. I mean, we were sitting at, soft 6 by Wednesday morning, and it's just fallen out of the sky, and it hasn't stopped raining, and now we're at a heavy 10 and a very testing track. So, look, here's hoping we can get a good day underway tomorrow.
Yeah, fingers crossed, yeah. It's a hive of activity out here. The hospitality tents are all going up, so the prep's all done. We just need the weather to play its part.
Yep.
Let's look back at last week, though, and the running of the Arrowfield. Not here, at Matamata, but wow.
Yeah.
What an impressive performance.
Yeah, she was something special, wasn't she, La Creek? And look, I know there was that quiet confidence around Matamata that she was going to produce something like that. And yes, the favourite was from the region as well, who'd worked super on the Tuesday morning. But with what I was hearing from a couple of good judges around Matamata, that her work was exceptional on the Wednesday to say that she was going to be in the right spot. Craig Grills also had that confidence leading into the race. And you'd have to say as well, Bevan, that Craig rode that race confidently, knowing that she was going to be able to produce a performance like that, and that was a performance where she really did second-rate them.
Oh, she just showed great ring craft, didn't she? She jumped away, she put herself in the right spot. Look, there was a couple of attackers, but then Craig just worked them enough to hold that position, and then he put the pressure into the race at the 600-metre mark, and I thought at the 600-metre mark the race was over. Imperatriz, well, she probably didn't run up to her best, clearly, and maybe the run here at the Bay took a little bit of a sting out of her legs late in that particular race. But she was spectacular, and it's always good to see when you have one big boom horse in Imperatriz and another horse come along. It sort of adds that little bit more excitement to feature events. She's heading to Australia. She's got a couple of big targets. Maybe the Empire Rose, I think, is on her sort of call sheet. So, look, it's hard to see her not being competitive the way the New Zealand horses have been going over in Australia. And look, she might be just one out of the box. She might be one even further than an Imperatriz. We'll just have to find out and see. But she was spectacular Saturday.
Yeah. Wasn't the only big run, though, in the Hawke's Bay Guineas. Pierre, how good?
Yeah, look, massive. And again, some reputations were dented in that race, obviously the Arrowfield and even some of the other undercard races. But certainly in that case, Pierre raced well here, went up to go up alongside Dynastic and beat Dynastic, and then he's just come to the end of his run, and Dynastic's been able to come back and win. But on this occasion, boy, he was really dominant, wasn't he? He enjoyed the better surface. He clearly bounced off that, and he looks to be now the main danger in the 2,000 Guineas. We see the Sarton next week, of course, and then on to the 2,000 Guineas. But yeah, he was super, Bevan. I was really impressed with what he did.
Yeah, I underrated him a bit out of Hawke's Bay, I'd have to say. I didn't think he could turn the tables, but once he loomed up, that race was over. Dynastic, I don't know what to make of him. Look, they were concerned coming into here day one. He turned the tables that day and was really dominant late, but he's a colt, so that can happen to these colt types. Then one day fantastic, next day not quite so good. But look, it was a one-act affair really late in that particular race, and it look, just adds more spice to Riccarton, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Bevan Harwood last Saturday as well, and Darcy Labella.
Yeah, she was very, very good. Look, Alan Sherrick, I personally think he's the best at setting a horse for a race. You know, this has been a target race for a long period of time. The horse jumped more handy than maybe expected, sat right on speed, and from then it was race over, because as she showed it to Rapa, she's got a great turn of foot, and she was brilliant in the end. There might be more in store for her. She's not overly big. He'll pick a path with her. Look, maybe she can sneak up a couple of grades. Darcy Labella, if the rain keeps falling, why not? You know, there's a couple of races. He won with Just Ask Me up north later on into the spring, didn't he, last season? That might be a race he'll head to again if the rain does continue.
Yep.
Well, I guess, time for Maiden of the Week.
Why
Brendan?
not? Why not, Paulie? Why not? A little bit to choose from. I thought last week there was a lot of good maiden races midweek at Avondale, and we've gone to that venue and we have spied one here that was very good late in the piece, and that is Vadamos Queen. You have to try and find it back in the ruck. This is a horse who was back third or fourth to last. And it was a race where we saw up on speed, and especially in the trailing spot, $1.80 favourite in She's Class. He ran third in the Futurity Stakes as a 2-year-old. Look at this horse weaving, and then spies a gap here, Craig Grills, and then takes off between horses. This is a very good win here by Vadamos Queen. I will say this, that the horse trialled up like she was ready to do something. I was just concerned about where she'd end up in the run, and boy, where she was in the run, you would have been concerned, but man, she has got a nice turn of foot. That was a good win by Vadamos Queen. You'd say, I think, that the race too is worth following. I did like the way that the second horse found the front from a wide draw and showed some acceleration. She's Class will be an improver off it, and even Hey Girlfriend's run too, who finished just in behind them into fourth position. But Vadamos Queen, yeah, that was breathtaking.
Yeah, one to keep an eye on. Right, big day tomorrow. So let's have a look, and we're going to start with the Group 1 Livermore Classic. Over the 2,040 metres here. Top of the market, Mustang Valley, $2.80. Prix de Fur, $4.50. Defibrillate, $7.50. Vernon Me, $8. Alan Sherrick just asked me, a wee bit of action there. 14s into $9. Who would have thought? Soldier Boy at $10. A Demonetisation at 21. Helena Baby also at 21. And then the rest of the field, 26 and out. BP. Mustang Valley was impressive last weekend behind that very, very classy mare.
Yeah, she was, and you almost feel for her because of what could have happened if the race was here and it was a heavy track and all those scenarios for the Arrowfield Plate. But what we do see is a horse that is in terrific form at the moment. She is a horse that has come back with a win already in a Merriometric Mile. She's got a Group 1 placing. She has a heavy track. She's got distance form. She is the logical favourite, isn't she, Bevan, at $2.80 with what we've seen from her so far.
Well, she's in the right spot, isn't she? She's come to the Bay and it's rained in the last couple of days. I thought she was spectacular up at Metameta as well. She's on the quick back up. Many of these horses, I suppose, would be in a similar state if they were coming from Metameta, but look, post her win here at Hastings on day number 1, where she was spectacular. She's only gone on an upward plane. All Andrew's horses at the moment seem to be doing that, whether here or in Australia. Look, she's got every chance of winning it tomorrow, especially with the prevailing track conditions. I've got her in a draw that'll see her in a very sweet spot. I think one off, maybe 3 back, and from there she can pick her spot to go forward under McNabb. So, look, she's the horse that's hitting the race at the right time on the right plane.
We wouldn't normally see these runners line up 7 days after an Arrowfield into the Livermore. Does that concern you at all, BP?
Oh, look, it's always a concern. I think any horse that's backing up from last week leading into this race, and there's even a concern for horses that missed that race meeting and are trying to run in this race. Like Defibrillate, for instance, who's trying to win this race first up. So that's also a concern, isn't it? And on a very testing track. So the travel aspect as well, it's done a lot of travelling too. So they're all little things, aren't they, Bevan, that go into the mountain?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a lot. We're talking about a horse that's on the way up and young in both racing and probably nature against Prix de Fur, who's a tough war horse. He is way disadvantaged by the track conditions that'll prevail tomorrow, but he's a war horse. Hasn't been strongly raced this preparation, and they've done that on purpose to fit him for today, but he'll be in the fight because you know he's tough. You've got other horses like Just Ask Me, who's been around 1 million times, carried 60 kilos, and he's a real worry, and he gets track conditions to suit. So it's a slight niggle with Mustang Valley, backing up as such a young horse against some of these hardened war horses, but Man, she's been good.
Yeah.
The last 3 starts have been very, very, very good. And she's got that unique action with that leg that kicks out a bit, but she seems to get through these track conditions and even on top of the ground. So I'm not really sure where the ceiling is for her.
No. Map-wise, we look at a speed map here, team. What have we got here?
Oh, I think True Enough is probably the leader in the race. BP, Helena Baby.
Oh, he's out now.
Yep.
He's
Has he come out?
Yeah, he's come out now, True Enough, this morning.
Oh,
Yep.
so that makes even more interesting. Oh, well, Helena Baby probably gets there by default, really. Look, at the other question is, what do these inside draws become by this part of the day? A horse like Soldier Boy's drawn brilliantly to probably get the trail, but is Down on the Rail going to be any good by this part of the day? So do we swap all our form analysis from inside draws to outside draws by this part of the day? But yeah, Helena Baby going forward. I thought there was a spot forward for Prix de Fer. I don't know about you, but if they are positive from the gates, and they have been here at the Bay in previous preparations, I think you can find a spot one off under Opie. And outside of that, do you see any speed?
Well, Vernon Me, I suppose, is a horse who's drawn out, and he likes to go forward, doesn't he, in some of his races, and he's run his best races by going forward in those weight for age races when he has run a placing. He can cop the ground. He ran a good race last Saturday in the Arrowfield.
Great race.
You know, he becomes a chance of looking to try and work forward. Field of Gold's drawn out wide, and another horse who races best when he goes forward. We haven't seen the best of Field of Gold this preparation, and that would be my question mark, and even on a really testing surface too.
Demonetisation? Like they went back fresh up. He was
Surely
very
back.
good. They went forward the other day. And
It was his undoing, wasn't
yeah.
it? Yeah.
So hard to see him going forward from the outside draw. So we're probably left with the two you mentioned, Helena Baby, Vernon Me putting the speed in the race.
Money for an Alan Sherrick, and early money for an Alan Sherrick runner, just asked me. 14 into 9. That's got to interest you.
Yeah, it does. And look, I know that they have had their eyes on this race, and you would know as well, Bevan, that the Livermole's been that race, gone underweight for age conditions, 2,000 metres. We haven't seen the horse up to this distance, but it's a distance you would imagine that he's going to love. The way that he runs 1,600 metres with those big weights, and now he gets a wet track too. He really is a live chance now, isn't he?
Mate, no mistake, the bookmakers are a bit scared of the Taranaki boys. So I don't know how much money that actually is, but if there's a few that come from Taranaki and put a little bit on, then the price is going to crumble. But look, he's had apprentices on across the last few starts, and they've got lost back in the field, and he's been flying home. Won't get lost tomorrow, I can assure you of that. He'll be moving into it at around about the 600 metre mark. We know how good he is on these wet track conditions. Not a lot of speed in the race possibly against for him, but as you mentioned, he's been prepped for this forever. And generally when they come to the Bay on the last day, as we've seen with Alan, they get it right. I know T. Kemp this morning, listening to him on the radio, he's hitching a ride down as well. Saw Bruce Sherritt yesterday, he's coming up tomorrow morning, so...
There's a sign. That's a sign.
Look out if they win. They could be here for a few days and nothing done at NZDR for a couple of days. But look, he's come right into the race with the way the field's fallen away and the track conditions, and the Alan Sherritt feeder.
Another one who's had a wee bit of action, demonetisation, 31s into 21s.
Yeah, look, I like him tomorrow, and look, he's a favourite of mine anyway, so I'm always going to like him. But I just feel as though the conditions of this race over 2,000 metres suit him. He has got a Group 1 fourth over this distance, and that was in the Zabeel Classic, which included Vernon Me as well. Look, you've just got to try and overcome what he did second up, and that's I think the key with that run is that he jumped so well that they put him into a position where they tried to utilise him by running into second spot, and look, he was gone before the bend, wasn't he? I think this race will play into his hands. The conditions, this track could be so testing by race number 8. If there's rain throughout the day, it will be survival of the fittest, and I have a feeling that he is going to be one of those horses that will be surviving the track conditions. And at this distance of 2,040 metres, yes, you'll look at the distance and say that he hasn't run over the distance. Well, as I said, he ran fourth in a weight for age Group 1 on Boxing Day over 2,000 metres. I think he's a bet at 21s and each ways and top fours and those type of bet types.
Bevan, another one at 21s, Helena Baby. Can you?
What? No, probably not. I don't think. I think he's a question mark at the trip. I know John's keen to get him up over ground. He probably raced day number 1 that he needed a mile. He's up over the 2,000 metres. He'll be on speed. If they can walk them, maybe then yes, we'll handle the track conditions. Can I see him running top 4, top 5? Can't see him winning, but I could see him running, you know, in a money back, bonus back scenario.
Yeah. Well, I think the key with Helena Baby, if there is no speed in the race, he might be able to just, because I know Donovan Mansell has spoken a lot about this, and he said he needs to be run over distance. He was saying that 2-3 years ago, that this horse can run over ground. Now he gets that opportunity. He might be a solo leader, and they might just sort of just keep going, keep pressing on Darren maybe, and turn this into a real test. And if that is the case in these type of conditions, look, he might get away with it. This is a chance for him where he can try and peel it off if he gets those conditions and the way the race is run suitable for him. So yeah, I spoke to John on Tuesday morning, and he's very bullish with how the horse has worked and what he's done, and how it's all panned out by missing last weekend and just going from the Tarzino into this race. So I think he falls into that bracket of wet trackers that you need to respect if you're trying to box a few up in a trifecta or first four.
Stephen Marsh has got Vernon Me in the race. Craig Grill's on board. Wasn't the worst run last time out? No,
we'll have a look at that run too, because of course it was in the Arrowfield, been finishing into 4th position, and it gives us a chance to line up a few others, because there is actually, look, even Green Luck, we can mention Green Luck in this conversation, Bevan, as well, because his 2 runs in the Group 1s, I mean, he's a mile off them here, Green Luck, and he finishes into 7th position, 8 lengths, and he was the same here running in the Tarzino. He could be the extreme roughie that punters are looking for tomorrow for a top 4 bet in Green Luck over more ground and on a heavy surface. But yeah, you're right, let's touch on Vernon Mead. Drew well, was always going to get an economical trip in the race. You had Mustang Valley closing the race off and Prix de Fer finishing into 3rd position. So there's enough form reference around from last week's race to try and use into this weekend's Livermore Classic. What do you make of that race, Bevan, as some of those outsiders, and I guess Green Luck is a sneaky?
Well, I love Vernon Me up at Matamata. I thought that was a really good performance, and I think it is the horse that will improve most probably into this race out of that performance. So if he can get across and sort of control tempo from outside lead, then look, I think that's probably the best value each way play in this particular race. I think he's going well. You know, he's brave. He was awkward early, and he was keen. I think that keenness will be off him tomorrow. And if he can get the right spot, I think he's definitely an each-way player. Green Luck, you look at the sectionals again out of Matamata. I know it was, 8 lengths off the winner, but sectionally was very, very competitive late. The run here on day number 1 was very, very good as well, sectionally. I think it was the quickest last 200 metres of that particular race. So, look, that's at a massive price, but I think it could possibly lob into a spot late in this race. Just the way it's been going, it's been set for this, talking to Paul Harris for a long period of time. So, look, it becomes a little bit forgotten. It's come up from the south. We don't know a lot about it. But you can only take the horse on its performances, and they've both shown that it's going to be competitive tomorrow.
Yep.
Right,
he's going on my trifecta for sure. Green Luck is a roughie. Yeah.
Well, there we go. Green Luck, where are we? I've got to scroll down the page to find. $51 at the moment, Green Luck.
Shouldn't be. Should not be that price and what it's done. And it's been in the biggest company and it's run 2 great races. Why is it 51? Maybe a little bit of disrespect there, to be fair.
Sounds like a wee bit of value. Well, we've had a look at the runners that have come out of the Arrowfield. Someone who's coming in fresh up, as you mentioned just before, BP, Defibrillate, $750.
Yeah, look, he's an intriguing runner because I would say on his Australian form, his best Australian form, he wins this race, doesn't he? I mean, he is a horse that has been not that far away in an Australian Cup. He's a 2-time Victorian listed Cup winner. He's a horse that Mornington Cups and Geelong Cups and all those sort of races, 4th in the JRA Cup and Herbert Power, and amongst some of Melbourne's better horses. They've brought him back to NZ with the hope that they can peel off some Group 1s. Look, this is going to be a huge ask to be able to win this race, but if he does, Bevan, this will be one heck of a training effort by Graham Richardson and Rogan Norvell.
What was he, a length and a half off them in the Australian Cup? Yeah, look, that'll be winning this race if he runs up to that sort of form. I think on a much better track, he'd probably run favourite.
Yeah.
On this sort of track condition, you've got the niggle of the 2,000 metres fresh up. They didn't want to back up from last Saturday, which I can completely understand. And I heard Graham on the radio this morning said, well, why would I line up there? I would have got beaten by Luck Creek by a panel. So he's come here. He says he's very forward. I obviously haven't seen him in the flesh, but the track condition's got to be a worry at 2,000 metres fresh. But he's certainly a player. I think he's certainly a player in the race.
Yep.
He's got the inside alley. at that time of the day?
Yeah, it could be really difficult for him. He's got a little bit of technical speed. They might be able to pop off. Well, I think that'll be the key by that point of the day. They're all trying to possibly get off the rail and get into some clear open air. That said, with the rail in the position it is now, I know on day 2, Richard felt that was basically a fresh piece of ground, and they didn't race. So maybe the rail's going to be okay early on and fly to pieces later on. But can he win the race? Yes. Would you come in with the confidence you would on a decent track? No.
Is there anyone else you want to have a look
Oh,
at
yeah.
before we put your money where your mouth is?
I think we should talk about Soldier Boy, who's got very good 3-year-old form. And he went round at 150 plus in the New Zealand Derby and ran the race of his life by finishing 4th in a race that had Lark Creek in it. Who ran 2nd. So this horse is in a great vein of form, Bevan. Yes, coming through lower graded races, but it just shows that he is a horse that needs to be respected with now the wet ground. Talk to me about Soldier Boy and your thoughts on him.
Hey, you go back and look at that derby. He was caught wide the trip. He went forward down the back, circled the field, led up into the straight and ran 4th. It was an amazing performance from him on that occasion. Gee, I was impressed with him fresh up. He beat a good horse here in King of Hearts with Thomas Russell, which is one you can follow into its next particular start. Waverley, he shouldn't have been at that price. You got an absolute Christmas present there, but they sent him. Oh my word, they sent him from the off. He was sitting on speed. They sent him again at that 100 metres and he cleaned them up. So they really wanted to put some pressure on him to get him fit for today. I think he'll stay. I hark back to Semper Magico, gives me a line through Mustang Valley and him. Semper Magico was in Mustang Valley's race here, and Mustang Valley panelled it. Same thing happened at Waverley. So there's the same sort of form reference. Yep. He's certainly going the right way. He's going to be in the right spot in the race if the rails are okay. Can he win? Possibly. I think it could be a winning chance, this horse. Yeah. He really could. If he gets the right run, and he's flying at the present moment. Look, he's a major player for me. He's different to Just Ask Me, who's way back in the field. He's right there. Might put some pressure on them at the 600, and he'll stay, this horse. So $10, it's certainly worth having something on him at that sort of price.
Before we had this chat, I was all set on just hammering Mustang Valley, and now you've thrown a whole lot of other cards out on the table.
Yeah.
From the way that you boys are talking, this is wide open.
Look, I think it is. Like I said at the top, I believe Mustang Valley is the deserved favourite and will be my top pick in the race, but I think there is options also away if you think 280 is maybe too short and you have all those little queries of what we spoke about. And I think if you have those queries, then you can go shopping and you can find the prices that you like around 3 or 4 horses that will like the conditions of the race, really appreciate what's going to be underfoot. I just think there is an opportunity away from the favourite if you wanted to go shopping.
Look, she's the right horse in the race. She's the best performed across her last 3 starts to be winning. At $2.80 with her newness to the top echelon, probably getting a little bit short. So you start looking outside the square. And we're tipsters, and we probably shouldn't. We should be just flying into Mustang Valley, as you mentioned. But new horses to the race, Just Ask Me, Soldier Boy, they add great interest for mine, those 2 particularly. And we haven't spoken about Prix de Feu. He was very good at Matamata. Whether he's going to get away with these track conditions, not sure. An older horse who hasn't really caught with them. But if he's within 5% of his top gear, he'll be right in the mix as well.
And look, it's Opie's on it. Opie's on it. So all of a sudden you've gained another length as well too with Opie being on the horse. I guess the genuine concern is on a really testing heavy surface for this horse. Now, I think you would have to say that he has found the right Group 1 that he can win. Like he's been in a number of Group 1s and he's run super. He's run second. He ran 3rd in this race last year, and he's always been there or thereabouts in the Group 1 races. If it wasn't as wet, I would say he'd be a lot closer in terms of favouritism in the market, just with how he ran last week. But I'm just concerned about the track.
I suppose what we're sort of saying is with these prevailing track conditions, which are unique for this time of the year, and a lot of these horses are not proficient on them. If Mustang Valley comes out and panels them, we'll go, yeah, thought that could happen. And if we get a $50 shot roll home, we'll probably go, yeah, I thought that could happen as well. It's just one of those sort of days, to be fair. But look, if you follow form, and the people that watch this particular show do very closely, they'll be with Mustang Valley, I think, out there.
Yeah.
Right, I'm confused now.
Yeah.
So you've boxed up how many, Paulie?
So, yeah, I've gone Freddie Field now. Fair dinkum.
Well, it's a festival race, I think. Yeah, because it's wide open outside of the short price. I don't know if Punter of the Year, which is on here tomorrow, with the first 4 players, they might be taking units, so that to try and make
Yeah.
a real decent sort of collect.
Yeah, it's going to be a minefield for Punter of the Year, all races, to be honest with you. Look, I'll single it out for you, Paulie. I'll give you a couple here. I'll go Mustang Valley as my top selection in the race, but I want to back the monetisation each way. So he's my each way bet in the race at the $21 and circling for a top 4 price. He is one of many that you could find at that sort of price that you think might be an each way chance. So that's what I'm doing.
I agree, but demonetisation I'll take out. I think Just Ask Me's got a great chance, and I've got to stick with the CD, the young emerging horse and Soldier Boy as a trifecta player.
Right, what I've taken from that is Mustang Valley on top and the whole field in behind.
On your salary, you can.
Right, we better move on. Next race we're going to look at, race 6 from here, Hastings. The Group 3 Red Badge Spring Sprint over the 1,400 metres. Top of the market, Bari at $3.80, Times Ticking $5, Old Town Road $6.50, New Arrangement at $7.50, Spring Tide $8.50, Crossroads $12, as is Durham Lad, $15 for Tavi Court, Germanicus at $16, as is Pool No Punches, Oscilleta $18, Cavallo Veloce 31, Nod of the Head 31, Sergio 31, Langkawi 41, and Bellissimo 51s. Right, BP, where do we go? Where do we head here?
I'll try and make this a little bit easier for you, Paul. I really like Bari tomorrow. I think he's a horse that has been screaming out for a race like this. He gets wet track conditions. He has a low draw. Taylor Mitchell, what an opportunity for a young rider here to have a ride in a Group 3 race, and Margaret and the connections have stuck with Taylor as their jockey for the race. She's been on the runner 2 times his preparation. He will love it up to his knees here tomorrow, and I thought he was a bet.
Fantastic. Look, and you can bet with confidence early with the no deductions, no surprises that we've got at the moment, especially when you've got a track conditions that we have here today. Bevan?
Not quite so sure it's a one-out race. I thought it was a bit of a nightmare. Bari, yes, was very good behind Darcy Labella at Te Rapa, but I thought there was a million angles on this particular race. Spring Tide, he was good at 1,400 metres at weight for age 2 starts ago. I know he's disappointing last time, but he's got all the ability to win this. Really interested in Times Ticking. He gets in here with 57, which is just 4 off the minimum. He was fantastic last preparation before he got a stone bruise. He trod up like a very good horse at Foxton on about as wet a track as I've ever seen at the trials recently. Look, he's heading down towards the Copeland's Mile, I think, Times Ticking. Beat a Museum Wire over 1,400 metres, who came out and won at weight for age and black type post that. He's a serious horse, Times Ticking. He's a serious horse, and I think with 57, he gets in well. His draw's a nightmare, but we shall see. I do agree Bari's a major chance in that particular race.
Spring Tide? I mean, Spring Tide's a Group 1 horse, especially over this distance, over 1,400.
Well, I think, did he open up 10, or he was just around about that, so maybe 850? I sort of had to shake my head at that because he's the only Group 1 performer in this particular race. I know he has to carry top weight, but he's at home. There's another positive now being with John Barry. Look, he'll run in the money. I've got no doubt he'll run in the money. It's just whether he can carry 60 and win.
Yeah.
Where else? Well, we're looking down the road here.
Well, New Arrangement's an interesting horse, Paulie, I think, because this is the former Chris Waller horse, and he's a runner that ran super and maybe a little bit against expectation, because he blew out in the market. He was around 6 or 750 when they opened, and he ended up blowing out to $13, and he produced a really good victory over 1,400 metres, and maybe was the expectation that he's looking for something a lot further, as we've seen in Australian preparation. I was really encouraged by what he did. He has a little bit of wet track form across the Tasman to give you an insight into that he can cope with it, but of course it's not going to be as testing as what they've got here tomorrow, but at least it's something to work with to say that he can run a race. I thought he was, what does he say, $7.50 he's a chance if he backs up off that form, Bevan. What about some of the other CD horses like Old Town Road and?
Well, he's
those type
going
of
well.
runners?
Like, he was very dominant here, day number 1. I think this is just a massive pressure race when you've got Bari in there. Sergio is so fresh. I've seen him a couple of times. He won't be going back. He'll be forward. Tavi's Court going forward. Our Alley Cat possibly forward as well. So look, this will be a real battle because they'll be flying. The one I would mention at massive odds is Nod of the Head. He's a good horse. He's won 3 of 5 at the trip. He's won here at the course. He's had a couple of quiet trials where they were just prepping him for, I think possibly today, everything wrong at Te Rapa. He got knocked over at the start. He's always had a few mental checks, and once that happened, he just threw the towel in. But he's a pretty serious sort of horse in my mind. I could really see him turning the tables around. He's at 26, I think.
31s now.
$31. Look, he's a little bit of each way if you want to flick him into the light. Old Town Road, he's tough, he's big, and he's really developed. So he's down on the minimum, so he can be in the money. But look, Bari is one that stands out, and then look, time's ticking. I think he'll be a player tomorrow, and he'll be a player going forward into this ring.
BP, Bevan's just given us a $31 shot to have a look at, I guess. The Fresh Up one, the Fresh Up run wasn't that impressive, but will be a lot better, Nod of the Head for that.
It will be. It's a horse I've always liked, and I know that Stephen Hunter's spoken a lot about as well on this program. So I just think it's a case of just forgiving what happened last time to the races, and look, if you could chip away at 31s. We have had a scratching too, haven't we? Our Alley Cat's come out of this. Market too, so that's one speed influence that's come out of the race, which is key, with a lot of speed in the race, and amongst them, as you mentioned, Bevan. Oscillator's a horse who will enjoy conditions. She's a horse who likes to finish strongly over top of horses. She's got a low draw, but she's a horse that will be looking to try and get out and around them and finish over the top. And she's got that wet track, heavy surface form next to her name, and she sits at $18. Overall, Paul, I'm happy to have a bet on Bari. I thought Time's Ticking was a massive danger with how the horse has trolled up. And what spring tides is that one you want to have a place bet on, because it's $8.50 in twos, and has run 2 Group 1 seconds here over 1,400 metres.
Bari, certainly get the conditions to suit tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, this might be an abandonment shortly.
Stop it.
Looking to the south.
Come on, Kevin.
Hold the faith.
Yeah, hold the faith.
Exactly.
Well, I'm talking about the show, not the race.
All right.
No, we don't finish early on the show.
Come on. Oh, good.
Yeah, we run under any conditions.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that. How about the Kevin Gray runner? Pull no punches. $18 currently.
Yeah, that might be one for Bevan.
It ran the race of its life last time, didn't it? Can be a little bit hit and miss. Not sure it can be really competitive in this particular race, but it's had a good preparation.
Chrissy Banbury, she's got Sergio, Fresh Up.
Oh, he's been charging at the trials and jump outs. He's a handful, this horse. She's just been trying to take the freshness off him. Whatever you'll see, he'll be out in front, and if he keeps on rolling, he can keep on rolling, and he's been dominant on a couple of occasions. Might be a bit tough for him late on these sort of track conditions with how fresh he has been, but he'll be winning his fair share of races through the summer.
Right, I think we know where BP's going to be going here.
Yep. I'll be backing Bari and backing in Taylor Mitchell and Margaret Falconer, and hoping they can get the reward. He's been going super, and yeah, keen to be on him.
Hey, I'll go with the Wairarapa Water. Albie McGregor, he's only got one horse in now. Albie, a wonderful fellow, and Time's Ticking, like his horse has been dear to my heart since he won on debut in that Punters Club at Tahiraniki and cleaned up the bookies, so we'll go with him.
Not the worst jockey on either, so
Yeah.
there we are. BP with Bari, currently $3.80, and Bevan,
Time's Ticking.
Time's Ticking, $5. We're around about half-time now, intermission. So it's time for a minute with me. And seeing as I've got the king of the CD here, I think we've got a CD jockey.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Leah Hemme. I live just north of Palmerston North at Cheltenham. I'm a full-time mum and part-time professional jockey.
Who's been the biggest influence in racing for you?
There's been a few people here, but I can't name any one person, but there's been Kevin Myers, Karen Zimmerman, Fraser Aurette, Nigel Aurette. The Aurette family have been great to me.
What was the first car you owned?
I think it was a Sigma, Nissan Sigma maybe.
Toilet paper, over or under?
Under.
Most famous person in your phone contacts?
I'm not. No, I don't have anyone.
Your go-to karaoke song?
I don't sing karaoke, so if I do, run a mile.
Favourite NRL team?
Yeah, Storms from ever ago, but don't watch League.
Favourite junk food?
Everything, lollies, chocolate.
Who should be All Black coach?
Richie McCaw,
Who has it easier, jockeys or trainers?
trainers,
Favourite board game?
Monopoly.
Union or league?
League?
Favourite cocktail?
Mango daiquiri.
Fill in the blank. The best Barrett brother is?
Bowden,
First celebrity crush?
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Favourite horse you've ever ridden?
Favourite horse would be Surprise Me. She's probably one of my top favourites at the moment.
Favourite movie?
Lion King.
You can invite 3 people to a dinner party. Who are they?
My kids and my mum.
Race you'd most like to win?
I'd actually like to ride in the Melbourne Cup, but Auckland Cup, New Zealand Cup again, any of the cups.
Horse we should keep an eye out for this season?
I haven't ridden all winter, been off injured, but there has been a few that I really like. I think Chabot's in for a good season this week.
Fantastic. Thank you, Leah.
I love the Lion King. I could watch that over and over. Do you know what? My daughter's named after Simba's daughter.
There's actually 3 because everyone's called Kuna Matata. That's how much I love it.
Fantastic. Thanks to Leah Hemi there for having a chat. And no, you're not back at a Rihanna video. Unfortunately, the weather's not quite playing its part, and there are some. I guess when I arrived on Thursday, it was pretty much like this. It was consistent drizzle, and that's what we've got now. BP.
Yeah, just annoying. That's the main thing. It is really just an annoying little skiff that's come across the track. So, look, I mean, it's threatening. It's around us. There was a hope that maybe they wouldn't get as much rain today as what they've had over the last couple of days. So, yeah, I don't know.
We live in hope.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on. Next race we're going to have a look at is race 3 from Hastings, the Mardi Gras Events 3-year-old Premier. Top of the market there. And we've got an odds-on pop here, Mascarinto, trained by Stephen Cole, now $1.90. Golden Darcy, $4 into $3.50. O'Royden, $6.50. Duncan Creek, $14. Think Twice, $16. Frederick, $16. Pennywecker, $18. New Orleans Jazz, $21. And Shaney at $26. Right, how do we break this down, BP?
Oh, gee, I thought this race was really niggly. Now, the first thing too is Golden Darcy is down to run on Sunday out of Rotorua, and there's a high chance he'll be running in that race. So look, I'd be very wary about that. Look, he's a big chance wherever he runs, isn't he, Bevan? I mean, I know you were really impressed with his physical appearance when you saw him here on day 1.
Yeah, he's a lovely, lovely horse, and wherever he goes, I'll be backing him, whether it's here on Saturday or, as you mentioned, Sunday. Like, what he did on debut against some quality opposition was fantastic. Like, he took a lot of pressure, he sort of led up into the straight, and he only sort of folded the last sort of 150 metres. He did have his head down after the race. He had really put in, so he's had a bit of a break in between those particular runs, which I really like. Noseband goes on him. Gates probably a slight niggle, especially with Mascarinto leading, finding that forward position.
Yep.
But he can go and sit outside this horse, and I'll be taking him over Mascarinto if he starts. Mascarinto, without that heavy track form, becomes a question mark. However, Perencandos generally get away with it out of a Don Eduardo mare. They don't breed them any better for a bit of deep stuff than that. So you'd say it'll get away with it. And it was when you beat a 65 field as a 3-year-old, it's a pretty big key that they're decent sort of horses.
Yeah. Mascarinto, I think we've got a replay of the win last time.
Yeah. And look, you've only got to go over what he was able to do as a 2-year-old. I mean, he blitzed a very good field when he won at Matamata, and here on this occasion, look, he was very good. He just showed his acceleration out of the barriers. He got to the front and he just ran them into the deck. And these are older horses. This is a rating 65 race that he was able to win, and he's put them to the sword. So yes, there's that obvious concern, as Bevan's mentioned, from in terms of track condition, and I think that is the big query for him. But yeah, he's a lovely big up-running type, and he'll give a sight. And he's $1.90, and if what happens with Golden Darcy, he could even be shorter in the market with where he might be heading. O'Royden is a horse that I'm interested to get your thoughts on, Bevan, because she does bring the wet track form, and she bumped into a type that you like, and Coogee Kate too, when running second behind that horse. And look, your thoughts on and impressions on her?
I think she's got good quality, and with this type of race, she probably comes right into it. I feel as though it might be a fact-finding mission for Jono as to where she stands. Coogee Kate was on debut, came off a trail and beat her fair and square by a margin, but she did have to work to get handy from a middling sort of gate on that day. Look, if I was going to go around the city runners, I thought Duncan Creek was actually really good behind Dynastic. He's not the most tractable horse. I think Petra always tells me you wouldn't want to be married to him. But he's gone a couple of nice races in Blacktop as a 2-year-old on wet track conditions. I think he's sure to improve. And the one down the bottom, Pennywicker, had a lot of time for this horse. Jimmy's been fiddling around behind the scenes waiting for better ground. Well, he's not getting that tomorrow, but I thought she was okay at her fresh up run this preparation. I think she would really train on Pennywicker, but if you want a real wet track specialist, I think Duncan Creek will get away with it because it couldn't have been any wetter when it won at Otaki.
Mascarinto $1.90. Now, with Golden Darcy also accepting at Rotorua, with the no deductions, does that sort of push you slightly towards the favourite?
Well, look, I think with that possibility, maybe I don't know. I'm just mindful of backing into a $1.90 shot on a heavy 10 when we don't have the heavy 10 form to work with. That's my concern of diving into that.
What about Friedrich? I'm sort of leaning on you, BP. You very seldom see Chad throwing in this sort of race. It's had a very quiet trial, which was okay.
Yeah.
Out of a decent dam, Valencia's Image was a reasonable sort of mare. So.
Yep, and they've been able to get Opie on.
Yeah.
Well. Yeah, look, I
just unknown.
It is too much of an unknown zone around it, but it just might be that type of race where you have to try and pluck something like that if you're looking away. But then you're saying, well, I'm trying to pluck something that I don't know anything about, where you've got actual form to work with Mascarinto. I mean, I'm talking proper 2-year-old form, and then a scintillating victory first up to the races. It's just all on better ground. I think Twice was another horse that just might have needed a little bit of respect. It's out of the right barn, and Andrew Forsman. They have got blinkers on tomorrow, and it does have some wet track credentials next to his name. He was a soft track winner, and he has been placed on heavy ground, which was last time out. Okay, yes, it was 7 lengths off them, but it's just something to work with, and with those blinkers going on with a low draw, could sit in a good spot. That could be the one there. What sort of price are we talking there, Paulie? $16. So, hey, look, if there's going to be any type of scratchings and you're sitting on a horse at 16s and it might be at $8 by the time the race starts, that might be one that you could entertain having something on it.
I just think with punters around the land, when you're on a $1.90 shot, you want the tick in every single box before you take your hard end and put it on. And bigger punters might say, no, $1.90 is fine, but for many, at $1.90, you want to have every tick in every box, and with no heavy track form in that unknown, I think it becomes a bit difficult to tip it out as a leading chance at that. Well, it is a leading chance, but at that price, I think you're not getting any value.
Duncan Creek, an encouraging fresh up run.
Yeah, as I mentioned, Patrick likes this horse, but I think he challenges him at times. He's a wonderful trainer, Felix. Liked its run behind Dynastic. He was slow away, and he pressed on nicely. He wasn't that far off Golden Darcy, in fact, 3 lengths. So if I think Golden Darcy's a good chance, I would imagine Duncan Creek improves second up, and I could see him running in the monies at $16, which seems, well, it's dominated by the $1.90, so you're getting inflated prices here, really. But $16, Golden Darcy comes out, $16 will look fantastic. It will.
Bit of shopping to do outside of the $1.90 shop.
There is, and I reckon there's another speed element to this race too that is interesting, and that's New Orleans Jazz, running number 6, because he's a flyer, isn't he, Bevan? He loves to come out of the gates hissing, and with both Mascarinto in the race and him, there's a chance here that there's a couple of horses that will set the race up for genuine speed. So that's one other element to the race. I just keep coming back to Think Twice. I think Think Twice is a horse at the price. Ran a really good race when beating Sacred Satono last preparation. Now, Sacred Satono is one of the horses at the top of the market in the 2,000 guineas. He's gone bang bang so far in his 3-year-old prep. A little bit of heavy track form there from last start. So, look, he just might be a little bit now at $16.
I think if Golden Darcy comes out, they get it on the ear, those two, Mascarinto and New Orleans Jazz, don't they? And then Think Twice should get the trail. So you might be onto something there, depending on how that rail is. But might not be overly quickly run this particular race, and that probably plays into those top two's hands.
Right, BP, where are you going?
Well, we're talking like Golden Darcy's not in the race. I think both Bevan and I would be on Golden Darcy if he runs in this race. So if he's running, I want to be on Golden Darcy. If he's not running, I'm searching for something else. That's something else. I'll go Think Twice at the price.
Yeah, Golden Darcy if he runs. Outside of that, look, I'll have a little bit each way on Duncan Creek. I think he improves second up at home on a track conditions he is quite good at. So, look, $16 I think. If you put it on tonight and Golden Darcy comes out, you're sitting pretty tomorrow.
Right, there's another meeting on Saturday down south at Ashburton. We're going to have a look at one of the races down there, race 6, due to start at 2:57 Saturday. The Barneswood Farm Stakes, the Group 3 Barneswood Farm Stakes for the 3-year-olds over the 1,400 metres. Favourite at the moment, One Kiss. Here we go, we've got another $1.90 shot for you, Bevan. Perfectly Suited, $5.50. I Choose You, $6.50. Redmond at $9. Chibano at $9. Arrowette, $10. Speciality, $18. 7-11, $26. And Correction at $31. Right, Bevan, where do we head here?
Oh, look, they always, and I think that sometimes the Te Akau runners are overbet a little bit, and they actually should, and they should be. But on what One Kiss did at its most recent start, you can understand the price here. Looks like a very talented filly going forward. But she came from off them, blew past them, probably got a little bit lost when she went past them. She's only improving into this particular race, and I didn't see many dangers outside Perfectly Suited, to be honest, BP. I thought that was a very good run with an improving horse as well. So I think they have it down to themselves. So how you play your betting strategy is probably a key here. If you waited till Saturday, you might be able to get $2 maybe. She might just drift out a little bit, and then you can play both of them and make a profit.
We're just doing a Canterbury Belle Quinella again?
Well, I mean, that second horse was very good, wasn't she? I mean, she's run all the right sectionals. She's come from a long way off them to fly home into that second spot. Maybe. Hey, look, she's good enough to even turn the tables potentially too. That's the other thing. You're getting what, $5.50 versus $1.90. I mean, One Kiss. One thing about that race, it's extraordinary what that horse paid in the end, wasn't it? I mean, this was a horse who was touted as 1,000 guineas chance. Of course, there's a lot of horses at this time of the year that think they're 1,000 guineas fillies, but it had Opie on it and it went round at $11 in the end. And look what it's done. And now she's propelled to the top of the market for the 1,000 guineas, and here she is at her next start as a $1.90 favourite. So I just feel as though I'm prepared to look towards Perfectly Suited at the $5.50, purely price related with how that horse is run. I Choose You wasn't the worst in that race too. Who finished into 5th position, was working home just as strongly as Perfectly Suited to be on similar type sectionals, not as quick as Perfectly Suited, but wasn't that far off them. So $6.50 is the price around that horse, and does have a better barrier draw in barrier number 2, and Terry Mosley takes the ride. I thought the interesting horse in the race was Arrowette, number 8, at $8, purely because, Bevan, she does bring the best fillies form to this race, and I speak of the Gold Trail and bumping into Bestseller. That Bestseller form so far has been indicative. Yes, I know Bestseller didn't perform in the Hawke's Bay Guineas by being in the first 3, but Arrowette has been 4.5 lengths off them in a Gold Trail Stakes with lots of form around that race. She might be a maiden but she's by Zoo Star and drawn in barrier number 1. She could be a sneaky.
Yeah, I thought she was good here. Like, I can only take my lead on this horse off Leith, who's had a little bit to do with her, and like, he's not overly effusive about her ability going forward. Certainly can win a couple of races, but I don't get the feeling from talking to Leith that he feels as though she's right up to black type. But she was a little bit surprising in that way here in the Golden Trail. It's an interesting dynamic with the change of leadership at Te Akau's, and you mentioned the $11 that was available on One Kiss. Now, I think every man and his donkey knew that they thought this was a serious horse.
Yeah.
And the whispers were all around Riccarton. In the old days, Jamie, and they're different personalities, aren't they? Mark and Jamie. Jamie would have said, this is winning. And it wouldn't have been $11, it would have been $2.20, whereas Mark is much more refrained and keeps his cards close to his chest. But there was a fair whisper out there around that particular horse on race day and even before that.
Yes, first up,
Not
definitely.
sure how you possibly got, well, you got it, so well done if you cashed in on the $11. But yeah, it's just changed a fraction, that whole dynamic, and I think in the old days the bookies would have got completely cleaned up on One Kiss at Riccarton. Completely.
Let's be honest, it wasn't the best result.
No, I don't, it could have been terrible. It really could have.
The Pitman runner, Shibano?
Yeah, look, he impressed what he did first up. I mean, he won his maiden race and he did it all well. Luke was on the synthetic, and then he was beaten next time to the races behind Cognito in that Guineas trial. Cognito looks to be heading in that right direction as a strong chance for the Tangerine into the 2000 Guineas. He was beaten around 3.5 lengths. It made a gear change to put some side winkers on. And Redman is probably the other horse too that brings a little bit of stakes form to the race. Placed as a 2-year-old in a Champagne Stakes, won first up, and then was beaten when not getting all favours when presented last time to the races. So those two Southerners are certainly in the race with what they've shown so far in a small sample size. But it's hard to get away from that Canterbury Bell form, and I think that's where punters will be heading.
Shibano's an interesting one. Sometimes I think they feel different muscles when they're on the synthetic. So like it's just a slightly different sort of scenario, and they come out and they feel their bodies a little bit differently. So you could forgive it to second up. Gee, the ride on Cognito, Patience of Job, it was going to be a hero zero. He got this right split, Jason Lacking, and got it home. But yeah, that's another major player. But I'll be respecting Shibano. Michael would have set this for this race for a long time, and yeah, they generally produce a few at the carnival.
The stablemate of Redman, speciality.
Yeah, look, it's a horse who ran last time, what was in a 65 grade, so up against the older horses, and wasn't too far off them when finishing about 1.5 lengths away, and then went to Wingatui, of course, when winning a maiden race a couple of starts ago. Drawn awkwardly, that would be my biggest concern. Of course, it is drawn the outside barrier in barrier number 9. But look, I keep coming back to the One Kiss, perfectly suited. Maybe if you can do some fast finger work there, Paulie, on a fixed Quinella for us to see maybe what that is situated at around One Kiss and perfectly suited. And I think I choose you with just that lower barrier draw and how good it was in terms of his sectionals too, and her sectionals, to say that maybe she's a distinct danger also. So yeah, I'm around that Canterbury Bell form, and maybe perfectly suited at the price at $5.50 might be still a touch of an over. Quinella?
They're not that fast fingers.
480.
Yeah, fast enough. Yeah.
Well, that's a real interesting sort of value bet at 480. I think if you can get that now, it's a great place to be playing going into Saturday with a bit of confidence, I think.
Okay.
Right, let's have a look at our best bets, eh? Who are we going to start with? Is it?
Yeah, I'll kick it off. I'm going to kick it off with a horse that I'm sure Bevan might be keen to have something on too.
We will be having some on here, BP, you're right.
Zoe Satin. This track is right in Zoe Satin's wheelhouse tomorrow. Blinkers are on. This horse has run a couple of beauties of late and it gets to a 75 with $60,000. You want to talk about trainers who know how to set them up for races. Raymond Connors is certainly one of those trainers too. I think she's a cracking bet here tomorrow. She has got genuine, and I mean genuine, heavy track form. She's drawn out. She'll be a horse who will be able to roll over the top of them late. She's around $6.50, $7 maybe, somewhere around that price. I'm happy to mark her as my best tomorrow.
Very good.
Yeah.
Zoe Satin.
What price we got, Bevan?
Oh, I'm just checking for you. I didn't know, 750.
Just check your account balance.
750, 650 and 550.
Yeah, well, you'll know because Raymond and the Corner Assembly won't miss it tomorrow if they expect it to be winning. So, big field though, so like
Yeah,
the pools are big enough to sort of hold a fair bit of value.
Right, I'm going to head to Sunday.
Oh,
and
here comes a grease.
Race 1 at Rotorua.
Golden
Kabuki.
Darcy. Oh no.
Kabuki, full disclosure, I have a slight monetary interest in Kabuki. First run as a 3-year-old here. He had one run as a 2-year-old at Te Aroha, and I think we see Opie just pushing through here and off and gone. Opie's back on again on Sunday at Rotorua. So just hoping the rain holds off and we won't get a decent track, but we get a half decent track. Yeah. So, yeah, Kabuki for mine.
Team happy with the trials and everything else?
Yes, yep.
He's got dollar signs in his eyes after race number 1 at Rotorua tomorrow. That'll be a discussion to be had. Yeah. Look, I've got a couple to give you, but the best, I think, Yolo in race number 1, sectionally brilliant in the last 2. Gets the lightweight, again in the same grade. Look, I think she's flying, and I think her form in the last 2 has just shown that. So she's in the right race to be winning. She's not at a great price. I think 250 available, something around there.
That's still pretty good.
Yeah, that's right. Look, if you're in the punters club, I can actually see quite a few of those tickets being all in on Yolo in the first. You know, those guys that have got 2, 3, maybe, more than one sort of entry might be right in there. And Ferraglione is a horse, so I tipped that as my best on day number 2 that never happened. So we do have to mention it. Gee, it was a tragedy beaten day number 1. I think she'll get away with these track conditions. It would have been my best if it wasn't such a big field. She is going really well and a very talented horse. So Yolo, if you want to load up early and get a bank for later on.
There we go.
Race 5, that horse too. That Bevan's talking about. Yeah.
We've got the League Up Twitter poll as well. Yeah, and it's currently up at TAB_racing on Twitter. Just head there and vote on any one of these 4 horses, and the top 2 vote getters will be boosted tomorrow. So we're going to Hastings Race 1, Yolo. Oh, there we go, Bevan.
Perfect.
Race 8, Mustang Valley, the Livermore. And then down to the South Island, Race 6 at Ashburton, One Kiss, and Race 7, Buoyant. If you leave a comment as well, you'll go in the draw to win a $100 bonus bet. And the winner will be announced on next week's show.
So this is a poll for which one to go for?
You just vote for whichever one you want boosted.
Right, boost Hastings. That's fantastic.
One each,
Yolo
is it?
Mustang Valley.
It's one each, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think it's one
let's.
each venue.
A couple of votes already. Do you get into it, bookies?
What I will say, if One Kiss is boosted, then you could play a split bet because it's going to go boosted beyond $2. One Kiss, so you could play a little bit of One Kiss and also some of Perfectly Suited and walk away with a profit hopefully and play the split bet.
There we go.
Very complicated.
BP putting his punter's cap on there. We've also got an enhanced bonus back promotion tomorrow. That's on the first 4 races from Ashburton, Caulfield and Randwick, and the whole card, all 10 races from Hastings. So just place a fixed odds win bet on any of those races, and if your runner finishes 2nd, 3rd, 4th or 5th, we'll give you your money back up to $50 as a bonus bet. It's a huge weekend, racing-wise, of course, here and on the other side of the Tasman. Of course, last Saturday, in the space of around 90 minutes, James McDonald picked up, the Scalacci, the Might and Power, and the Caulfield Guineas. There's another couple of Group 1s to throw in the kit bag. He picks them up like I pick up pies at the bakery. And, of course, he's on a good one.
He is.
He's on another good one.
You boosting that one? Again?
No, he's on a different planet at the moment, Jay Mackey. Of course, he won a Group 1 in the 1,000 Guineas on Wednesday too. Nature Strip, you want to talk about race days, that's gone to a new level, hasn't it, the Everest, and Aidan Rodley's in amongst it. He was on some super yacht watching 300 drones do the live barrier draw in the middle of Sydney Harbour, so that's how good he's going. And
that's how good we're going. We're standing in the rain here at the bay, and he's watching $1 million promotions. Gee.
Don't forget, Bevan, he was with us last week, so I'm not sure where you'll be.
Well, I don't think it's going to change much. Hasn't for about 20 years.
A huge sporting weekend as well. Of course, the NPC semi-finals with the Ranfurly Shield holders, Wellington, hosting Auckland.
Yes, they got it, have they? Wellington. Yeah. I wasn't sure.
13 and over, BP, you know it.
Very good, very good. The Rugby League World Cup kicks off soon. The Women's Rugby World Cup is underway here. I don't know.
I loved that women's rugby the other night. It was fantastic. Man, they're good. They are fantastic. You know, the England team, brilliant as well. We're a different sort of nature team, but they ball's in play all the time. Completely different to men's rugby at the moment, isn't it? It was
Not
fantastic.
a lot of box kicking.
No, let's pass it. What's a Ruby Tui on the wing?
Yeah.
Favourite player. Isn't she cool?
Yeah.
Us into it.
Right, I think we've done it. We're
wound it up,
we're
yeah.
going to get out. The rain stopped again, so fingers crossed. We're all good for Saturday. Livermore Day. Bevan, thank you for coming along.
Pleasure. Loved it.
BP, once again, great
Yep.
to see you back in the bay.
Yep,
And
no,
thanks
love
to
it.
you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you again next week on The Leg Up.